quarterback one from the past week gets the best team versus fantasy quarterbacks over the last month in the Patriots. Sweat or no sweat?
Is Drake going to come out and tell me sweat or no sweat on this one?
Yes.
No? Okay. I'm not sweating this one. I'm as dry as a chicken wing. Buffalo chicken wing, to be specific. Unless you like wet chicken wings. I don't know. Regardless, I'm not sweating this matchup of Josh Allen taking on the New England Patriots. Shut up. He just had 4 passing touchdowns this week. The last time he faced the Patriots, he also had a 4-touchdown game back in 2020, also with 320 passing yards. The Bills' offense is red hot right now, and while I think this will be a tough contest, I'm not going to sit Josh out.
I mean, if it's a dry rub, yes.
Yeah, it's a dry rub.
Well, before you fry them, you should get them as dry as possible.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so this next one's for you, Rank.
Asking.
Matthew Stafford gets the sneaky Jags, allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks over the last month. Sweat or no sweat?
Oh, I'm sweating like a busted water main on East La Brea Boulevard. Honestly, he's had over 15 fantasy points once in his last 3 games. And you're talking about that Jags defense. I know a lot of times you'll be like, oh, this has got to be a great matchup. They have not allowed a quarterback to have 3+ passing touchdowns in any game this season. He's one of 4 teams to do that. And I know a lot of you will hate that the fact that I'm going to break out a football take. But for the Rams to be successful, they have to run the ball. And while it might seem cathartic to let Matthew Stafford go out there and hoist the ball up 50 times, they have to run the football. And I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to end up with like 210 yards and maybe a touchdown or 2.
Speaking of running the football, Cynthia, what about Saquon Barkley at Miami, where the Dolphins are incredible right now against fantasy running backs in the last 4 weeks? Sweat or no sweat?
I'm pretty drenched in this one. I liked the way that Rank said cathartic in that last part. So I think it would be very cathartic to see Saquon just have a monstrous game. But I don't know if he's not exactly 100% or if they don't trust the O-line or what. But I don't know if Freddie Kitchens is solving the puzzle that is Saquon Barkley like we maybe thought he would. So I'm sweating this one big time.
I'll take Najee against Baltimore, the 2nd best defense against running backs this past month. We saw what he did to Nick Chubb, and I'm as dry as that watered-down cocoa butter in the big bottle. You guys know what I'm talking about? The one that had you getting roasted at the park and developing a complex regarding outward appearance because everybody's talking about you being ashy. As happy as I was to see a better-looking Baltimore defense, I know there's 8 catches out there for Najee against this team. Late-stage Roethlisberger, a bit more of a problem than like the half of Baker Mayfield that we have right now. So, yeah, super dry for this one. Let's.
My legs are ashy again.
They've never stopped being.
They look luscious. Let's get another round here. So, Kimmy, Ezekiel Elliott at New Orleans, 6 bets against running backs lately. Sweat or no sweat?
Whole lot of sweaty. I'm like Cynthia. I'm drenched up. Whole lot of sweaty on this one. And honestly, we heard from our fan segment in Chill Bra, a lot of people are stressed out about Ezekiel Elliott, especially when Mike McCarthy said, hey, his role's going to change in this offense. If we talked about Tony Pollard in this one, I feel a lot more confident starting him against the Saints as opposed to Ezekiel Elliott, who's only had 20-plus fantasy points just once in the last 5 games. So don't love him on Thursday Night Football.
All right, so here we've got another opportunity, Rank, if he returns. Your thoughts on Nuke Hopkins at your Bears, allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to wideouts in the past month. Sweat or no sweat?
I'm dry like a cracked dashboard of an 87 Datsun abandoned in front of a closed circuit city in Tempe. Oh, they almost fit in Tempe. That's okay. Listen, that was great. Look at that. Well, there's somebody at the Long Beach airport right now watching the show going, what are they talking about? What does all this mean? What it means is if DeAndre Hopkins is available and ready for the Arizona Cardinals, he needs to play against the Bears, who have allowed the 8th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. It's a great matchup. So you start him. I love this, by the way. Thank you for trying to fit all that in.
Cynthia, Keenan Allen at Cincy, the 2nd best versus receivers the last month. Sweat or no sweat?
I went with an economy of words here, and I just said swampy. Because if you look to see what the Bengals have done, they've allowed 20 or more fantasy points to a wideout just twice this season. That's Devonta Adams and Adam Thielen. And only 7 receiving touchdowns, 2 wideouts this season, which is tied for 3rd fewest. I don't like it. I think this is one where you're obviously playing him, but you're going to be very swampy while doing so.
Super swampy. We'll leave the swamp and get to the shore because I'm taking Rob Gronkowski at Atlanta, who hasn't allowed a touchdown to tight ends in the last 5 games. And I am drinking salt water and perishing on a sandbar. I'm just not worried about Rob Gronkowski because not only is he a special guest on our show today, so I would be horrible if I were sweaty regarding Gronk, but in terms of fantasy points per game, he's in the top 3 for tight ends when he plays. So if Gronk's on the field, You play Gronk and you don't worry about it, regardless of who he's playing. So that's sweat or no sweat.
Well, Gronk already appeared in the show, but I think somebody else has something to say.
Guys, come on. You know better than that. Never, ever, ever sweat Gronk.